Welcome to the Almost Perfect Podcast, a celebration of fuck-ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. This is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. Hi, I'm but perfect, and I'm a functional fuck-up. Let's learn from somebody else's mistakes. And today we are learning from Andy Mkosi. Now, Andy is a musician, a photographer, a filmmaker, and a cultural practitioner in general. And she's someone who, I've admired her work for a very long time, watched her career for years and years and years, and I'm really stoked we finally got to do this conversation, to have this conversation, not do this conversation. But yeah, man, fuck, I absolutely love this one. It was a real treat, and I think you're really gonna enjoy it. We chat about a lot of real shit. We chat about Andy's upcoming live album, which is fucking amazing. I really dig it. And we chat about access when it comes to photography. We chat about proposal writing and having to sell your story and this and that. And it's a very fucking cool chat. So I'm looking forward to you hearing that in just a little bit. Of course, I need to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by you, which means you can support it by going to patreon.com/almostperfect. There's also merch and stuff on almostperfect.co.za. You can get t-shirts, mugs, and I'm getting some sweaters made. We did pre-orders which end today, so you can hit me up. Like if you hear this in time, you can hit me up. I'm putting in that order pretty soon after I put this out though. So yeah, doing a whole pre-order thing for $300, and then there'll be $350 going forward. So yeah, that's some stuff I need to let you know, cause yeah, gotta stack those racks, yo. Yo. So last night was fucking crazy. Got chased by a man with a fucking kitchen knife, which is something I'm still reeling from. And it's like the second time I've had a knife pulled on me in like the last month, by my fucking flat. So it's really crazy fucking times, because yeah, like we've been doing comedy gigs and shit. We've been doing a bunch of comedy gigs with the Not Quite Right crew. This week's been pretty sick. Like we did Stump Nose, we did the Westford Warehouse, and then last night we did Ace's Pizza. And yeah, it's been cool, man. Robbie Collins has been in town, so we've been hanging out and shit. And like, it's just been with like, who else was in town? Q Dube was around, Titi Chumia, he was in town. So like, it's been a vibe. But yeah, last night we did Aces, and then we hit up Dropkicks, we did a little afters, and then I got dropped off at home. And as I was being dropped off, a guy came up to me and tried to like pickpocket me. Like he just ran up to me and like tried to get his hands in my pockets, try to take my phone. And like I pushed him away, I took my backpack off, I swung it at him, and I was like, I'll fucking kill you. And then he pulls out a gigantic knife, and I was like, I don't think I'm the one who's gonna be doing any killing tonight. So bounced, bailed, ran the fuck away. Like, yeah, definitely got out of that situation as quickly as possible. But fuck, man, it's been, I don't know, I feel like you've probably been a victim of like more crime lately. And yeah, I've definitely heard a lot more, seen a lot more, been involved in a lot more shit lately, and I don't really fucking have any solutions for this shit. Like, it's like I can't even be like, oh, I'm gonna fucking leave this country. Like, that's not even really an option for me. So I mean, I don't know, maybe it could be one day if I get a few more patrons over patreon.com/almostperfect. But you know, I don't necessarily think that that's the solution either. But it's dangerous times, man. It's scary times, and it's like, I get it, because people don't have fucking money. There aren't really jobs. It's not, I mean, as I'm saying, like, it's understandable, but at the same time, like, if it's me or you, and it can be you, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, if it's me or you, and I see that it's probably gonna be me, I will run the fuck away. Like, but I don't know, man. Like, it's just, a lot of crazy fucking situations, man. Like, genuinely, I haven't spoken about all of it, but there's been a lot of just tense, violent fucking experiences that I'm really getting over. Like, I don't know how to fucking deal with this shit, as I say. I don't know what the solutions are, but that's a little bit of what's been going on with me. Like other than that, like fucking last night was amazing. Had a great time, and it looks like we're gonna turn the Aces gig into a weekly gig, except for first Thursdays. So come on through to that. It'll be fucking sick. We're gonna be like doing a whole lot of cool shit. I really am excited for comedy vibes at the moment. I've been having such a good time with it. And yeah, it'll be cool to see you guys at some shows. Speaking of which, Sunday we're doing an open mic gig at Station Drive. No, it's not Station Drive. Station Collective, down by Mahatma Gandhi Road there. So we'll catch you there on Sunday. Oh yeah, and I'm also gonna be hitting up a pussy party tomorrow. That's Saturday for a little party. So yeah, we'll catch you there. With that out the way, here comes the Almost Perfect Podcast with Andy M. Mkosi. So how are you living, Andy?
I'm good, Bob. Like everything is cool. I think I'm at a Zen space at the moment. Everything seems fine. Everything looks good and feels good.
Nice. It's really good to hear. And Zen space, I guess we can get into that since I've had my own dabblings with Zen and meditation and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
are you a little bit of a chakra hun there?
Ah, to a certain extent, I think like we all have to apply some extent or some Zen vibe that you have to lean towards during these times. I think for me, it's prayer, silent time. I enjoy being alone as well. That provides a lot of clarity for me. So yeah, to a certain extent, I'm chakra hunting in that vibe.
Yeah, we've all got our own ways to manage with this postmodern like nightmare that we're we're all living in at the
Mm,
moment. But you seem to, yeah, like make things work pretty well. And you've been doing so many different fucking things for so long. At the moment, how busy is your schedule? Because I know, like, at previous times we've chatted, like, you've been busy.
mm. So right now, I think since the last time we've spoken, I sort of like had to iron out what it is exactly that I want to focus on. And at the moment now, it seems like the thing that's at the forefront and is sort of paving the way for whatever other stuff that I'm doing is music, be it photographing music or making my own music. So at the moment, I'm part of a fellowship with One Beat. It's a virtual fellowship. So I engage with other musicians virtually who are in other countries internationally. So most of my focus at the moment is pointed at that. And yeah, pretty much just like figuring out like passion projects. Like I'm working on a lot of like documentaries which are inspired by my own like interests. So yeah, pretty much that's where I am, like work wise and concentration wise.
So it's kind of an extension of the stuff you've always been
Mm,
doing, just a little bit more focused now.
yeah, true.
And you kind of, didn't mention the thing that we're mostly going to talk about, or at least the impetus for this chat in particular, the bedroom sessions. You've got an album coming
Mhm.
out.
Yeah. So the bedroom sessions, it's like that album is really inspired really by the concept of the bedroom tour experience. So the songs that are on there are songs that have been released before, so they are out there, but these versions are not.
Oh, sick.
And these are versions that I've performed at bedroom sessions. These are versions that we came up with the band. It's like a lot of improvisation in the music as well. It's also my first time performing with the band, and I feel like with this tape in particular, I don't know, man, but it feels like I'm sort of like sharpening my voice, or I found how I wanna execute, how I wanna record, and how I want to anchor going forward when it comes to music. So I'm really, really excited to share this with everyone. Also, like a lot of people in previous years have been asking about those versions of the songs, which we perform at the bedroom tour. And after, it's like, where can we find those songs? And I think that was the driving force behind like making this tape, to have these versions of those live songs that audiences would only be privy to when we host a bedroom tour experience. Now you can in by next month you can listen to it on a Spotify or an Apple Music. Like it will be accessible like that.
Well, that is what I love about it, is that it's, you feel like you're in the room with the band,
Mm.
listening and watching live, and it's such a great experience. But I guess we need to let people know, what is the bedroom experience?
So the bedroom experience is a concept that I came up with, I think, circa 2016 or 17. I can't really recall now, but I prompted on my Facebook page asking people if they would invite us to their homes to perform music. When I say we, I mean a band and myself. So also like that's it's the bedroom tour experience. It's also like an experimental space for me when it came to performance, because it was when that concept came about. I also transitioned from performing with just a DJ to performing with the band and opening myself up to that world where I engage and collaborate with instrumentalists and bands. So yeah, pretty much that's the essence of the bedroom tour. It's really like a space where we perform and like redefine what a performance space is and what it could be and look like. And in this case, like we use the bedroom or living room or someone's home as a space of performance or theatrics.
And I really just absolutely love that concept, and I love that it's given rise to like such a like an album that does feel intimate, and it does feel. I mean, a lot of the songs are
Mm,
very intimate, and a lot of what you speak about is very personal. But the thing that stuck out to me personally was that it actually made me like feel like I was back in the day, I used to bunk school like a lot. And I used to watch SABC One in the 90s like a lot. And this like
mm,
very much gave me that feel like it was influenced by a lot of the music of that time, you know, like the R&B, soul,
mm.
jazz, like a little bit of gospel and stuff like that. So did you have similar experiences growing up in terms of influences?
Yeah, certainly. I think for me, I spent a lot of my holidays at my grandmother's house with my other cousins. And it was a time when a lot of music videos were playing on TV. So I
Yep.
would just sit and watch and like experience all of these like, but it was at the time a lot of R&B more than hip hop. Hip hop for me came at a later stage, to be honest with you. So it'd be around the time that Brandy released Full Moon. So that's the type of stuff I would listen to
Oh,
and
cool.
watch videos of. And I remember my aunt had a Shabin at some point, and like during school holidays, if she would pop out and go somewhere, we would sneak in and find where the where the cassettes or the CDs were and just bump our own music. And
Nice.
so I would play like stuff like 50 Cents, Out of Control, Take You to the Candy Shop, a lot of Carl Thomas as well. So it was a variety of stuff. And I listened to a lot of 5FM when I was in high school. So that's when my world was opened up to rock music, polytones. I might be forgetting. There's a favorite band of mine. I'm forgetting the name of now, but yeah, for me, it was never hip hop. For me, came at a later stage, to be honest with you. So I always feel like people don't know the fact that I'm a late bloomer when it comes to hip hop.
That's kind of interesting because, like, before this, I did mostly know you for being a rapper, you know, like, and then
Mm,
like you open up on this track, like you open up on the first track, and it's like it's you singing, and it's just like, oh wow, okay, this is different from
mm,
what I was like expecting from you. So,
mm.
is this also like an opportunity to show people that like there's a lot more depth to you?
Certainly, man, and shout outs to performing with bands. I think they open up like another they open me up. I don't know about other people, but because the space is so vulnerable, number one, anything is possible. Like you can like repeat yourself as many times as you can. There's no limitation as to, when you play with a DJ, okay, cool, this beat is 3 minutes and I have to do this thing within 3 minutes. There's no mistakes. But
Sure.
performing with the band allows you to improvise. And I think for me, teaming up with Tatenda Wekwatenzi, she really made me realize that I had a singing voice which I hadn't tapped into at the time. So I found out through rehearsals and just jamming with her and performing with her that I also could harmonize, and I really enjoyed harmonizing. And I also started embracing the fact that sometimes when I write, the first thing that comes to me are melodies, and I should embrace that. And a lot of the times when I do write, the choruses might be sung chorus as opposed to rapping choruses. So like shout outs to Tatanum and just like the band itself, like for providing those pockets when we do rehearse, for me to be able to say, okay, cool, I could put a melody here, I can do that there. Also listening to other people's music, I find myself like harmonizing to certain parts where I'm just like, oh damn, that would sound nice if I was in the studio. I would suggest that. So really, like it's thanks to Tatenda really that I'm confident in my singing voice and I was able to find it.
And it really does seem like just being able to connect with other musicians has grown you as a musician because, like you say, you were doing the two turntables and a mic kind of situation.
Mm,
But that's also obviously because of necessity, right? So, I mean, in the beginning of a
certainly.
music career, like financially, it's quite difficult to maintain a band and those sorts of things. And
Mm,
it's hard to find the right people to connect with you musically. So, yeah, like how did you find this band? And yeah, that's it, I guess.
mm. So when I was starting out with the bedroom tour experiences, like curating those, I knew that like I would have to bring an experience into the homes of people. It has to be different. I can't bring what I usually bring. So I sought out. I can't remember exactly how I went about it, but I landed with Nkosi Matomela, who's a pianist. He's the guy that plays on the project as well. He plays keys. Ngosinati linked me up with Prince Marf, who plays bass, who was studying at UCT at the time at the music school. And then through Dillian Piri, I was linked to Tatenda
Oh,
Wekwatenzi. So we performed for the first time together at the then Nest Space in Cape Town. It was a gig that I was commissioned by, booked by the creative nestling space, Dillian. And funny enough, the first performance that we did, which is also like something that we were trying to relive through this bedroom session project. It was a case where we only met Tatenda on the day of the performance. We had never rehearsed with Tatenda before, and
oh
I had
wow.
rehearsed with the guys like I think 2 days before, and the synergy and the musical chemistry was so beautiful that like it really like from that day onwards, I think I've only probably performed once or twice with a DJ from that point onwards because I was sold. I was convinced that like this is probably what I was missing from my discipline and my output when it comes to performing. Like you had to be there. It sucks that like we didn't really document that first performance, but for me, it made sense. It pointed to a direction that I should walk, and rightfully so. After that, like I played, I think a festival, I think 2 years later. So yeah, man, like I think just opening myself up to it's over the years also it hasn't only been this band that I play with, but with this particular project we wanted to relive and sort of like remake those moments when we first got together and said, okay, cool, let's just have fun, let's reinterpret these songs that I've brought to you guys. I don't know the language of music or how to structure songs when it comes to playing with bands, but I essentially what I want is to be able to hear the song and recognize it by ear in order for me to rap on it and know that that's a song that I've made before. So really that was the direction at the start, and it continues to be that till this day, where it's just like you say, you feel like you're in the room. And for me, like playing with bands feels like a playground. It's like playing. It's like a sandbox for me. It opens me up to so many things, man. Like I think if I would sit with a band for a week or a month, I'd make so many different versions of my own songs that exist. Because yeah, there's like the ideas are endless and the pockets are so many.
Yeah, the collaboration side of things can definitely. I've been finding that because like we've got like co-op company for like comedy stuff. We're doing videos
Mm,
and gigs and stuff like that, and it's been really cool just to like bounce ideas of other people and also be able to like they bring ideas and like you add on top of them. And like I've been someone who's been like quite a solo cat, and I imagine you also like. I mean, well, not imagine. I know you've done a lot of work on your own, and I mean, you've
mm,
done quite a few collaborative projects as well, but you're a person who makes stuff happen, regardless of if there's anyone else to do it with.
mm.
So I guess how have you found adapting to that? Because it does sound like it's been an easy process, but like for yourself mentally in that, have you had any sort of like concerns? Because, being a bit of a solo person, you don't know
Mm.
necessarily the space all works.
Yeah, certainly, man. I think like from number one, from an energy perspective, like I'm always like cognizant and aware of like what I think I give a fuck too much, to be honest. Like I always think I care too much.
That's why
Like I
your
think
work's good.
I care too much about what people think, which isn't a good thing sometimes. But in a work environment, I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone like to feel accommodated, and I think sometimes at my own detriment, because there are cases in the past like where I would open myself to collaboration, but I would feel like I'm not met at the same capacity that I'm bringing the energy at. So the
Yeah.
frustration sometimes maybe could come from like trying to align schedules with the band to rehearse, and everyone else has their own priorities. And just like in conversation with people, I think the mastering collaboration comes with, selling a vision to people. If maybe you're coming with the idea, Bob, you're the one that needs to convince us that, okay, cool guys, this thing is going to work out like this at the end. So let's try by all means to meet one another at the same energy level. So I guess it's about, like, when it comes to collaboration, it's really about that, selling a vision, and whether there's money or not, and making people understand that at the end it will be fruitful some way or another. So I guess for me, it's like always trying to accommodate people when I do collaborate, making sure everyone is fine. I think you'll hear even my anxieties on the when we were recording is just to make sure, okay, cool, we just did the song. Is everyone still fine in the room? You're like making sure. So yeah, I think from an energy perspective, and also just selling the dream to your collaborators, making sure that everyone is on the same page always serves well for the long run.
Oh, that's dope. And then you also mentioned something just now about documenting things, and you are a big documentarian, both of
Mm,
like your own, like a lot of your own life, but like in general, the South African creative scene, you've been a big part of that. But also with that, as you said, you had this show where, you didn't really document it. And I want to kind of get into, how do you feel about some things actually just being ephemeral and only living in that
mm.
moment, and, only those people getting to experience it versus the things you do show the rest of the world.
Sure, no, those are important, man. Like I think we don't have a lot of those at the moment because everyone has a phone, everyone has a camera, everyone has a podcast, everyone wants to talk about something, everyone has an opinion about something. But those are important as well. Like they are, like, I think when I started out performing, I don't think we documented much. And so there is like sort of a vague memory that, like, a lot of the things that I did, like when I started off, I can't really recall, but through conversation with other people that were there at the time, they'll bring up something, and then I'll be able to say, oh, cool, damn, I remember that. And then just there's no like departure point in terms of visual or audio, to say, okay, cool, this is how it happened. But just like replaying it in your mind and being like, okay, cool, I remember that thing now that you mention. So those are
Yeah.
important too. A friend of mine actually last week sent me an image of a friend, another musician colleague of mine, Supreme Soul, someone that I started off with, out with when I began music, staying Walanga. And this picture is of him and me on stage, and I really can't remember that particular day of performing at a stage, Erakazi, in town. I really can't recall. Even like having this conversation with you, I'm still trying to figure out why were we wearing the outfits that we were wearing, and what was happening, whose event was it. So it's one of those for me where there's a picture, but there's really no information or context as to what was exactly happening. All I know is the venue, the person that I'm on stage with, and I can't identify anything else. So those are cool too, man. To just, I think it also delving in memory, and like having ideas or things that are stored in our memory banks also forms like a part of like bringing people together around like a certain thing where you can reminisce about a certain time or an activity. So that often happens a lot to me because my memory is shit. It's shit. So like it's
Yeah,
bad. So
same.
I always enjoy when people recall stuff, and I'm like, oh damn, I had forgotten about that because so much has happened and time has flown so much.
Yeah, I've got this one friend, Mitch Harper. His memory is incredible. So like, I'll start telling a story, and he'll be like, "Nah, dude, not like that. This is actually what happened." Like,
I need a Mitch in my life, bro.
yeah, no, it's helpful. He's an island now. Well, he's actually in Durban this week, but yeah, I need to go catch up with him, get some stories, so I can start telling them correctly again.
Compilations.
Yeah, but then on the other side of that, you are a big documentarian. So why do you choose to document stuff? What do you choose to document, and how do you go about, deciding like this is something that's worthy of like getting the camera out, and this is something worth preserving?
So it's It starts, I think, with my own experiences, lived experiences. It starts with like things that I'm interested in. So, because I'm a musician, the first place that I really began like documenting was the music space. So, hip hop, early
So
hip
were you a
hop
musician
days,
first?
musician, rapper first. So, when
Okay.
I began rapping, so K-pop. So, when I began rapping, I used to
No,
document the hip hop space like quite a lot.
no, I wasn't. No, that was what I meant. I just meant instead of like, because I was just trying to figure out whether the audio or the visual came first, basically. Were you in the
Okay,
music scene first, and like, yeah, or
then I
had you
hear
already
you.
been taking photos and doing film stuff?
The audio came first, and then once the audio was there, the visual came, and then I applied the visual to the audio space. So I'll document like ciphers. I document like friends that are releasing like EPs at the time. I'd like document my own family, document things around me and things that interest me. But as I started like establishing a
Well,
style,
I
or you
was gonna
saying
say, what
something
was the
about
drive for that?
the drive behind photographing.
Yeah, documenting the stuff around you. What was it that you were like, I need to do this?
To be honest with you, there was no particular reason at the time. It's only like in retrospect when I started looking back that I realized that there was something that I was doing, and I had to sort of study the patterns of that thing that I was doing and what was consistent and what thread was carrying on throughout from the beginning up until where I was when I was looking back. So I think when I started like taking photography courses, I realized that the one thing that I was inclined towards when it came to visuals was documentary photography. But at the time I thought that in order to make documentary photography, you need to make or be a photojournalist. So for the longest time I tried to carve a career in photojournalism. But because for me, I don't think I do well with rules. There's a lot of rules when it comes to photojournalism. You can't do this, you can't do that, opposed to documentary photography where you just like you observe, you take in, you study the world around you, you engage it, and it's not as fast paced as news photography or photojournalism. You're allowed to stretch out your visual projects for as long as you want. And I think just as a general thing in my life, I'm interested in people stories, people activities. I'm just curious about like life around me. And I don't think there's a particular reason behind that. It's just like, I think innately, I'm just a curious person. And I've been lucky enough to have these things that like give me the privilege of accessing these spaces because if you have a camera, it's easy to access a certain community to a certain extent, I suppose. But
Sure.
you do get the privilege of accessing stories you would otherwise not be able to if you are not a photographer or don't have a camera. So for me, in particular, nowadays I'm into black and white photography. So the one thing that really, really thrills me is watching other artists or musicians rather in studio and documenting that. Recently, I was in studio with Dagi Fiction and they were recording some stuff.
Oh,
And
sick.
even that's a privilege, to get to witness other artists making. So I always think to myself, even though I haven't released music in a while, I feel like I've been in a long, like I want to say internship or like mentorship of some unsaid mentorship where I'm watching other people make and I'm learning really like stuff from them without them saying, okay, you do it like this, but just by watching and observing what they are doing. So, like the camera really gives you the privilege to access. And like I say, I've accessed like studio sessions with Dagi Fiction. I've been in studio with Thesis ZA. I've had like the luxury of following Unaka in a last year when they came back home. So it's really given me a window to see and view how other people do and make stuff, especially musicians.
Yeah, the documenting stuff is something like it's also important to me, and it's like I personally just like it's kind of a thing you're bringing up here. It's like I've got access to certain spaces, certain people, certain things through my career and through my different things that I've done that I know other people don't, and so it's like I just feel like there's like a not necessarily a responsibility, but I have a need to just go, hey, look
Mm,
at this, look at these people, look at what's happening. You might be missing out. And like that's like
mm,
a big part of it for me. So like I feel like that's also something for you where especially taking it back to when you were starting, like with the within the music scene, like you're saying you
Mm.
were finding your style in that. Like I'm assuming that's a big part of it, being like, well, shit, I'm here and I want to show this off.
Definitely, yeah. It's like even beyond just making the memories for oneself, but also to say, okay, I was there at that point in time, and this is what was happening. These were the key players at the time. I recently went back home for a couple of months, and I was photographing a friend of mine, and I was while we were photographing, I could hear there was a park jam happening, and I was like, damn, I need to take my camera and go there. It almost felt and it took me back to the first days of attending ciphers. I really wanted to go there, but we were so busy we couldn't go there. And just like like it's really important, like to document even like the earlier days and the earlier stuff that you did. Even if it's like mundane stuff. I think like the day to
Or
day or
just bad
whatever, like
stuff.
or just bad stuff. Because when you look back, it's like there's something that bad thing was indicating at the time which you might have overlooked. So even like just sitting with my own work and looking through at the files in the archive, there's like frames that I didn't even know of. I'm like, oh damn, I didn't know I took that. I didn't know I made that, or I didn't know that person was there. I always say, like, sometimes like when you point your camera, are you really looking at what you're making an image of? Are you really like understanding what that thing is? Because for me, it's only in retrospect that I sort of like understand or see the gravity of the things that I've done over time with the camera, even with music, like. So it's really interesting that archives weave into my work in this way, and I'm able to also contribute to those archives.
And then I guess also by looking back, it does allow you to also look forward, and that like yeah, like
True.
you gotta know what time it is and all of that. You gotta know where you come from. And it's like for me personally lately, it's been interesting because I've been dating someone new and I've been showing her like a lot of the stuff I've done, like and a lot of it I'd forgotten
Mm,
about, and it's just like quickly Google and like, oh yeah, I did that. And like it's been like so
mm,
gratifying to be able to go and look back and see all these things that we documented, and maybe some of the relationships aren't that cool anymore, and maybe like some things
mm.
ended badly, but it's so cool to like just look back at those
Eish.
like things that we did and still go, well, fuck it, we did it.
Mm. You know,
You got
yeah, that's a great point, Bob. Like it's like I resonate with that so much. And in conversation, I was telling someone as well that like this success is a long run, right? Like and sometimes like it's easy to forget how far you've come, and that's why as much as possible as any time that you have to look back in order to pat yourself on the back and be like, okay, cool, I'm still on the way. I'm looking forward to the future, because it's easy to forget how far you've come as a person or an artist.
Yeah, that's exactly it. One thing I did want to talk about is the access thing, and because you kind of brought it up with like photojournalism versus photo
Mm,
documenting things for photo documentary, where it's like I think the way I was thinking about it was like photojournalism, you're coming in as an outsider, whereas like as a documentarian, you're trying to like be an insider. So you say like with
mm,
the camera, you get that access to a degree, but also different photographers get different amounts of access. So how do
mm.
you like find yourself being able to get those stories as an insider?
So at the moment, like the main photo project that I'm busy with is a project that I titled Langa My Love. So Langa is
Yeah.
a township that I grew up in, and it's celebrating 100 years this year. And by
Okay.
looking back, I was able to recognize that I have been documenting this space. I have been like playing around with the camera within this space, and this is the space that has allowed me to, try out full photography. Even when I was starting out, like I had access to like play around with certain people and certain subjects. But going back, after having moved to Joburg, I went back to continue this documentation. And even in the space that I'm familiar with, that I'm supposed to be known in some instances, it's hard to access stories and people with the camera because I guess of the history that comes with the camera and the sensitivity that comes with
Yeah.
the topic of photography in certain places and with certain people. So I guess uh, there's another guy that came to Lang around about the same time that I was doing this project. So this is an outsider, right? Outsider, Yagwalanga, outsider in the South African context. But the way that they were
Okay.
able to access these stories that I so wanted made me so envious, and it made me question: is it really then a thing about photography and the history of photography, or is it about who's carrying the camera? So that's like the
Sure. Yeah.
one question that I have. Like, are we open to selling our stories or giving our stories to people that we will probably never see again? Or are we more closed off when it comes to local photographers making images or documenting our stories or telling our stories? Like, it's a weird thing, man, especially for Ulanga. It's a space where a lot of tourists come in, which I feel they are more privy to accessing these topics and themes that I want to engage with. And I would assume that because I grew up here and some of these people know me, I would be able to some degree get access or be allowed to tell some of these stories. But it's been a tough one. So I've been telling these stories to a point where I feel now I'm like an outsider looking in, and it feels
Okay.
uncomfortable a bit because it feels as though like it's put a ceiling to how far I can go with the project, because I know now what's missing, or really like those intimate family stories, or like certain stories that involve a people. All I have now are like more environmental images, and like more from a standpoint of like I'm outside looking in, like I said. But really what I know that what could take this project to the next level is access to a point where I'm speaking to these families that have owned businesses Kwalanga for so long, who have like this rich history about running businesses Kwalanga, but because of who I am, and I guess I don't know what it is, man, but access is a weird thing at the moment. So my question to it is is access allowed based on who's carrying the camera, or like or outsiders more prone to get the access than the people that are from these communities?
That's really interesting that you bring that up because I hadn't necessarily thought of it that way. Because I mean, I struggle with access for myself with various different things as being an outsider, but also in that, like, some people just don't think I'm shit. Like they just don't know the work I've done. They just don't know, like, that it's real. Like
That
basically,
too.
so like, do you think maybe that could be part of it? Like if someone comes over with an American accent and like, you know, just the big cameras and this and that and tell you, hey, it's going to be an international thing,
Mm.
like versus like, hey, I'm documenting Langa, I come from Langa. Like maybe they're like, you ain't
Mm.
shit.
Yeah, I think also probably has to do with like belief in ourselves, man. Maybe if they see
Sure.
me with the camera, they think, ah, how far is this thing gonna go? Like I think it
Yeah.
starts. I don't think there's anything I can do to change people's perspective, but generally it needs to start with believing in our own people, and the possibilities, and how far we can go within our own capacity without collaborating with outsiders. So really it needs to start with like embracing ourselves first. But to a certain extent, yes, it does have to do with knowing, because I do think that if there was another photographer from Langa who's known maybe more popularly than I am, they would get that access. So it does to a certain extent have to do with people knowing who you are, how popular you are. Sometimes people give you opportunities based on how big your following is on Instagram, opposed to
Yep.
what you've done and your integrity as a person or an artist. So number one, belief in our own collaboration as a community and involving like key players that are from the communities that we are from. And number two, a big theme also has to do with people only judging you by what you've done, who you are, and to some extent, probably like even your followers online as well.
Yeah, or it's just what they've seen you do even, because like, you're someone like,
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
CV is fucking crazy, like, like, I don't even know all the stuff you've done because it's just been immense for a long period of time, and, big names and stuff, like, Mail and Guardian and stuff like that, like, it's like, yeah, you've been putting in the fucking work. It's just it is strange in this time, like, because yeah, you're a name that like in the industry, like everyone knows you, but it's like on the streets, like trying to get like people to recognize that and know it, and
Mm,
like you say, have integrity on the journey is such a struggle because sometimes it is a bit of a numbers game. It is a bit of a popularity game, unfortunately. And I know
mm,
for myself, like I get like annoyed by it. But you have seemed to manage to find other pathways to like, continue making your career work. And one of the things is like, the funding things and working with stuff like One Beats and that.
mm.
So how do those come about? Are you like just making mad applications like every week, for different things, or are they approaching you, or like how's that process for you?
Bro, nobody's feeding me. There's no silver spoon here. I'm also like putting in the work. No, like I started really writing for applications probably like 2019. Since 2019. Prior to that, I got rejected a lot. But that also teaches you what am I doing wrong? How am I supposed to be phrasing these things? How am I supposed to be like like how am I supposed to be presenting this proposal? Even before this call, I was busy with an application, and I spent like an hour just trying to figure out a response for this one question. But it makes me so angry, man, that we apply for these things, but there's a particular way that you have to speak. There's a
And it's a lot of
particular way that
unpaid labor.
it's it's a lot of like, so I've had to grapple with that as well. It's just like I go through so much just for them to tell me that like this thing is not worth it. And so for me, like I think 90% of my career has always been based off, if I can do it myself without any funding, let me just move forward. They'll catch my train on the way, because like you can easily be discouraged by being rejected when your proposals are not like accepted. There are people who
Yeah.
do this thing well when they apply for funding, but I'm really so grateful that like the past few years, I think I've been writing them right. I've been, probably pitching the right proposal for these things, and things are aligning. Even with One Beat, I started applying to One Beat since 2017. I recall the first time I applied,
Okay.
got a rejection. Okay, but I didn't stop. I kept on applying, rejected, because it's something that I really like. I really respect the work that they do, and it's something that I wanted on my resume. So I just persisted. I'd miss like some deadlines that they will have, and I would skip rather than miss. I'd skip some open calls. So when I applied this year, I was like, okay, cool, let's try again, man. See if it happens. Likely for me, I was shortlisted as well. So which means, I think also it has to do with like, do you align with the vision of this thing at that time? Are you speaking to the values that they are about in that particular time? So yeah, man, like it's not a silver spoon really. It's like putting in the work. And for me, whether I get rejected or accepted, it's a learning stride. There's something to be learned even in the rejection letters. The best you can do for yourself is ask, okay, cool, I got rejected, but how can I improve on the proposal for next year, or the next upcoming open calls? Like, so that you can prepare well. But it's really a lot of labor, dude, because when you do it as well, it's like you're thinking, am I even saying the right thing? Are they even going to
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying? Does my proposal even work? Whereas when you come up with ideas on your own without like any open calls, you know for certain that I can feel this in my bone, and this is something. Whether or not I get sponsorship for it, I'm still going to do it. And that is the premise of my discipline and the things that I do. If I can do it without money, if I can do it with my immediate community, let's do it, man. Let's run. They'll catch us ahead.
Yeah, I'm very much on a similar path with that, and like I know like I should like take rejection less personally and also be less public with why the fuck did you reject me? But like,
It's personal,
I
Bob. I understand, bro. It's personal. You think can spoil your day, bro.
yeah, because it is like one of those things you put in the work, and like at least some of your rejection letters tell you what you did wrong. Like the worst is when you just get rejected and you're just like, but what did I do wrong? Like just
Mm.
tell me what I did wrong. Like please,
I just
like and
hate
then we can make
having
this
to
better.
sell a. I hate having to sell a struggle in order to get this thing. Yo, bro, like this is
Oh
what I want to
god.
do. Just give me the money. I don't have to be sad or this thing. Just give me the money. You can. I don't need to be sad.
Oh, that's actually an interesting thing to bring up. Like in the current environment, like with a lot of stuff, like I don't know what the right terminology to use, but yeah, like you have to sell a story, you have to sell
Mm.
identity, like, because brands want they want to align with certain types of things in that. So, like, have you found like your actual humanity being ignored versus like your story?
Bro, like, yeah, man, it feels like that sometimes. Feels like a lot of the times it feels like you have to sell a particular. I don't want to name any of the themes or these things that need to
No,
align with certain things, but for me, like, even like, man, Bob, me, I've always been about, give me something because you know I have the credentials for it, not because I
yeah,
tick a certain box that you want to, you want to contribute towards, so I think more than anything else with like open calls, the one thing that I don't like is that you have to tick a certain box, tell a certain narrative in order for you to be granted something. Like, why is it that we need to sell our stories or sell like a certain
pain,
narrative in order
trauma.
for, why do I need to get paid for my pain? I don't want that. Just give me, because I can make the image. I make fucking good photographs, and you know that. Why does it need to be aligned with X, Y, and Z? You know what I mean?
Man, there's a lot of joy in the world, and there's a lot of like,
Yeah,
just different stories to be told, and a lot of like fun mundane shit, like that can
bro.
just like yeah, that's the thing I have noticed a bit, and it's like I just want, like, I mean, obviously, like we need to make sure that everyone gets opportunities, but like
Mhm.
it's about the fucking work, and it's about like giving people the actual opportunity to tell real stories and what they
Mm.
want to fucking do, not just like pigeonhole people.
Exactly, yeah. Because it creates like this environment where now there's only a certain type of work that is given a platform, a voice, and is accelerated. But what about all the other like dope stuff that's out there, you know?
Yeah, I fully get you there. Okay, so we are going to bring this home. We're going to head into the end of the podcast. And so I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everyone. And they always go, oh, fuck, there's been so many. Because, yeah, we've all lived long lives with many mistakes. So, what is a like big mistake that you've learned an important lesson from?
Keep your shit to yourself, man. Don't go around telling people everything that you're doing and thinking. Some niggas is vile. So I think that's the one lesson. Like, be more private. People don't have the best of intentions at times.
Okay, well, do you want to explain a little? Like, you don't have to get fully into details, but
No, just
like,
like how can I say this? Like
'cause, I mean, we live in a
so I just
culture where, like, I mean, I do it a lot, like Instagram the fuck out of everything, and we're encouraged to do it. And especially if you're working in, the public sphere and you're
mm,
working as a public like entity and that, like showing people I'm at this place, I'm eating this food, I'm like, I'm on these lineups, I'm doing, I'm living my life, I'm fucking killing it, people. Like,
mm. Save a bit for yourself, man. Like, we don't need to be sharing everything. I mean, like, it helps out with like accelerating the career, but to some extent I also feel like tying back to the open calls, sometimes even when you apply to these things, it's like you might be rejected but your idea isn't, and then you will see your idea fathom itself through an entity or someone else
oh
out there.
god,
So
fuck yeah.
like even with like Instagram and these things, like we give so much away without realizing our thoughts, our intellect. So I think as much as like Instagram is like a great tool to use as, to tell people what you do, where you are at times, and like what future prospects you have, but keep it at a minimum, man, because really, like, there are people and companies rather who are keeping notes and also like stealing your intellectual property. To be honest, like I feel like that's how the game is. We are given
No,
these
that's a
free
good point.
platforms to give away our ideas and our intellect, which is sold back to us to some
I mean,
extent.
that's honestly such a great point, especially because there are people whose entire jobs it is to stalk your Instagram and see what you're doing that's cool, and then trying to repackage that with one of their clients
Mm.
or one of their people. Like in the music industry, that happens fucking constantly. Like you're like, why is this young rapper not blowing up? But this like, on a label, this guy is exactly like him, but on a big label, it came out 2 years later. Like,
Mm.
okay. So that's actually, yeah, that's actually a very, very good point. Anything you want to share with people to end this off?
Just do you, man. Don't think too much about stuff. Put your art out there and just have fun. It's all about having fun. The success comes with you validating what you do before the outside world does. So just do your thing, man.
Cool. Thank you very much. I really
Thank you so
appreciate your
much,
time.
Bob.
I'm going to be bumping your album quite a bit more. I've been listening to it for like the last week. It's been fucking dope. And like, yeah, it's literally like, yeah, like I feel like I need to put a head wrap on whilst I'm, mopping the floors.
You're so funny, bro. Yeah, Bob. I don't know, like, but I wanna play some shows in Durban, and I think it's an interesting thing that you mentioned earlier on that you are organizing and collaborating with people. So, in the near future, I'd like to get on that bandwagon that you're on because I haven't really explored Durban like that from a
Well,
performance
we've actually got a
perspective.
whole arts festival coming up. We're finalizing the dates and stuff now, but
Mhm,
like I'll let you know about it. But also, you should get in touch with Ryan Van Roy and Damien Road from Roots Up because they do these
mhm.
gigs at people's houses called
Oh,
Habitat, which I think would actually work well. So I'll give you their contacts and like, yeah, hopefully
sure,
we can
sure.
make a whole lot of things happen for a little tour.
Definitely, man. I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, bro.
So that was Andy. You enjoy that chat? I enjoyed that chat. I definitely enjoyed that chat. It was a cool one. I mean, I enjoy most of these chats, but Andy's someone who I've admired for quite some time, and I've watched her career from afar, and like I've always just been in awe of how much different shit she does and how she just keeps it moving. Keeps making shit happen. So super grateful we got to have this chat. And yeah, man, I'm sorry it's coming at you a bit late today, but yo, like, I was hung the fuck over today. Like, I've had about 30 cups of coffee now. I've, cooked up a greasy breakfast and feeling a little better now. But yo, crazy, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, crazy, crazy vibes. Like, still just like reeling from being chased around with a goddamn fucking gigantic kitchen knife. Like, not a good time, people. Not a good time. Rest of the night's amazing. Like, things have been good for the most part lately. Like, my money situation was completely fucked. Like, I don't even know what to do with that shit. But, like, other than that, life's pretty good. Friends are vibes. Like, friends are vibes? Yeah, friends are vibes. Girlfriend vibes are vibes. Like, all vibes are vibes at the moment, Digging the fuck out of it. And yeah, I've really been enjoying what we've been doing with the Not Quite Right crew. We've been, like having some great shows on that. And the cool thing is, we're all just kind of agreeing to reinvest the money, like instead of taking fees from the nights and stuff like that. So we're putting the money back into like getting more equipment, doing sponsored posts and shits online, just try and build the brand and stuff like that. And it's been fucking cool, man. Like, it's been really sick just getting to work with some like-minded people and, just get with a sick tight click and go all out, as old Wu-Tang Clan once said. So, yeah, digging that. And like I said, girlfriend vibes are amazing, man. We've been spending so much time together and just, like, so much quality time. And the nights just disappear, like, I go visit her after work, and then all of a sudden it's 2 in the morning and we're still just talking. And that's been such a wonderful experience, man, because like, I don't know, I think I've kind of mentioned it before, but like I definitely thought after my big breakup of 8 years that it was going to be quite a while before I dabbled in some romance, like I was down for dating and sowing my wild oats and all of that shit, but yeah, we locked the fuck down now, and I'm really digging that. So yeah, that's life at the moment. That's all the vibes that I kind of want to tell you about. I just want to get this up now and go have a nap, I think, and then put in an order for the sweatshirts. So yeah, man, that's the vibe. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Of course, it does mean that it's time for the shout-outs. And each and every single week right here on the Almost Perfect podcast, we give shout-outs to the titular titles tier over at patreon.com/almost perfect. Now this tier, it's $10 tier, it's the top tier, and like I said, it's called the titular titles tier. It's called that because people get to pick their titles on this podcast. You get to be a part of the cast and crew, basically. There are obviously other levels you can buy in for $1, $5, but this is a bonus for the $10 patrons over patreon.com/almost. Perfect. So shout outs to Risori, the storage clerk of subtle heresies in the Lesser Overberg region, Russell Grant, the Far East correspondent, Neil Green, the key grip, Karan Slemon, the almost perfect hedge fund manager, Riz Ventura, the director of purchasing, Karan Chetty, the assistant to the regional manager, Kev Jenkin, the inevitable ruler of the universe, and Queen Swifty, and Stephen Olivier, the executive producer. Of course, I need to give a big thanks to Damian Root for the bed music that you hear underneath my voice and the banging intro you hear at the start of every podcast. And lastly, shoutouts to you listening all the way through to the end. As always, I will catch you on the flip side.